Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 9 of the Pixel Ship podcast. Today is the 16th of April, 2014. As always, I am joined by Joel Hartlob,
Ahoy!
Neil Lebo,
Greetings.
Ryan Blandy,
The Galaxy S5 is the worst phone ever.
and myself, Ryan Hayes. Together we make up the crew of the Pixel Ship podcast. As always, we start out by talking about what we've been playing this week. So, Neil, what have you been up to this week?
I have played nothing on a console nor on my computer.
Okay.
I have played only on my phone.
Okay.
But what I have played has been pretty awesome.
So, what have you been playing on your phone?
I played... Hold on, let me pull it up. All right.
Angry Birds.
Magic the Gathering came out with a new game for the phone this time. So
Okay.
it's Magic 2014.
Man, aren't those
And-
cards really tiny?
No, not really.
Okay.
I mean, you zoom in, so
Sure,
it's
sure.
not too crazy. And it is awesome. It would be, I'd say, it's equivalent to Duels of the Planeswalkers that you would find on many other systems.
Is this free to play microtransaction, kind of like the others?
Yeah, it's definitely well, the others aren't free to play.
Oh, there's like
What are
a
you
base
what are you
you pay
talking
for
about?
packs and stuff like that.
No, you don't pay for any. You pay for the game. You buy the game. It's like
Oh.
$10 for the game.
Oh, I thought you had to buy like packs and stuff.
I
Like
think
that.
you're thinking of Magic the Gathering Online, which is
Yeah, which is
That's-
different.
yeah.
Which I have spent a lot of time playing. Also,
So it's
but-
$10 and it's you just get all the cards. Because I used to have Planeswalker back in like 1998 or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah. Well, in my opinion, the only Magic the Gathering game that is actually worth anything is Chandelar that came out in '96, and it's pretty awesome. It was developed by the developers of Bethesda, or that then became Bethesda. Anyway.
Yeah, the only one I ever played, the disc looked like a mountain mana icon.
Yeah. Yeah,
don't
that's not very good.
Yeah.
The Duels of the Planeswalkers aren't very good either. I mean, they're not made for me. They're made for like casual Magic the Gathering players. You know.
So,
So,
like,
it-
can you make any deck you want? Like, do you have the full library? How does the
No,
deck
no.
building
You
work here?
play with prefab decks,
Okay.
and then you through playing can like win additional cards, and you can add them and subtract from your deck. So it's not necessarily challenging,
it's good for newbies.
but yeah, it's great. It's great to learn the game
Huh.
because you just have a limited number of things. So
Well,
anyway, that was Magic 2014.
Okay.
Pretty good. It's good. It really looks great.
See, that's the thing, like, I never got into them, because I've always liked Magic, it's been quite a long time since I've played it, but I always thought they kind of moved to that, like, oh, give us $3 and we'll give you a new pack. But if it's, a $5 or $10 game, and they kind of give you everything you need to play, that would probably make me consider getting one.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and this one is free to play. This, or at least so far for me, I played for probably no more than half an hour.
Okay.
Just because if I really want to like sink some time into Magic, I will go on Magic the Gathering Online because that's like the most direct way you can actually play it how it should be played.
Okay.
Not to suck Wizard of the Coast stick, but I mean it really is. And I also got Asphalt 8.
Racing?
Yeah, it's a racing game, and I'm not into
Yeah.
racing games, but this game is pretty freaking sweet.
Is it like an arcade racer? Is it like Ridge Racer? Is it like Gran Turismo? What would you compare it to?
Like I said, I don't like racing games, so I have not played any of those. That's not true. I played Gran Turismo, and I guess it would be like equatable to Gran Turismo, I guess.
Okay.
It looks good. It moves really well. You use the phone to
The
steer,
tilt.
the tilt to steer, almost like the 6-axis, which I can remember absolutely despising when it came out. But now I do. I like games like that on the cell phone. I think it's different when it's your screen versus your controller.
Sure, and inherently in racing games, you've got 3 to 5 minutes for a race, which is pretty much, how long it takes you to, you really want to be staring at that screen. Like racing games
Right.
generally are bite off a small chunk, unless you're
Right.
playing something that's like 1,000 laps.
And that's what I find myself doing. Like if I have a little downtime or something like
You're
that,
pooping,
like, yeah, I'll do Asphalt 8.
All right.
So that's okay. And then Sonic Dash, which I do not recommend.
I don't think I played Dash. I played the 4 and 4-2 or whatever, like the ones that are like, this is the revitalization of Sonic, and it totally wasn't.
Yeah. Dash is very similar to so many games that I see people playing on cell phones with just your dude, you're running, and you have to swipe one way to go one way, swipe the other way to go another way, swipe up to jump, and swipe down to duck. It's really just, it's idiotware. I don't know. I can't.
So then it
Endless
should
runners.
assault.
Right. Yeah. Pretty much. Well, I mean, it's not endless. Like, it would, if they would make Bit Trip on here, all right. I would definitely be one of those idiots that plays, because that's a game that I can really get into. But this Sonic game, the name got me to download it. Everything other than that is stupid and terrible, and I hate it. And it's one of those cell phone games that also just constantly bogs you down with like, hey, there's new outfits, or there's
Oh,
new.
yeah. Yeah, that
Why don't you
drives
come
me
check out our awesome? You can get bonus coins, and I don't care. I like
Why don't you do that?
what because
Give Tails a hat for 99 cents.
Get that hat!
yeah, not for me. And briefly, I downloaded Super Hexagon. It's the only game that I did pay for, just
Man.
because I love it so much on Steam and on. the
I
PC.
love Super Hexagon too, but you're the only person I've ever seen to actually put real person time. I think I have like overall like 5 or 10 minutes in that game, and that's like the equivalent of like 50 games.
Right,
Because
yeah.
you live for 4 goddamn seconds.
Yeah, I don't know. It just hits that spot in my lizard brain. Like that thing that likes the repetitive kind of
Colors and the
challenge.
music and
Right.
yeah.
Everything just hits me in a good spot, and it's pleasantly infuriating. I like it.
Well, and I think that's a lot of modern games are kind of hitting that sweet spot where a game can be brutally difficult and you can die over and over and over again, but it comes down to how quickly can you recover, how quickly can you get right back to where you started. Like if a game only lasts for 5 seconds, if it takes you 2 seconds to launch, the next round of that game, then you're not going to play it. But if it just
Right.
instantly drops you, you're like, okay, fucker, try it again. Like, you're going to keep going because they don't give you a chance to, like, drop it.
And that's kind of how it is with that's definitely how it is with Super Hexagon. Like, you can't slap that space bar fast enough if you're doing it on your keyboard. Like it really is like, just shut up. I heard you say game over.
I can,
and-
talking about it, I can hear the music in my head and it makes me want to play it.
Yeah. It's got a great soundtrack. Yeah.
So good.
And lastly, the Walking Dead port from Telltale Games looks remarkable. It's exactly the same game, just on a smaller screen.
Now,
So,
do you just kind of touch, is it the 4 kind of icons when you're making a decision? Like, how
Mm-hmm.
does that... Because I always played it on a gamepad, so it was always button presses.
You have the options to pick, like if it's what to say. I mean, you just click on which option you have.
Mhm.
It's not too difficult. Navigation's pretty simple.
And I guess most of, like, the action sequences are, like, hotspots and stuff like that, so there's no
Right.
real control necessary. I mean, it's
No.
point-and-click adventure, essentially.
Yeah, but I mean, it looks great. The story's amazing. If you haven't played it on PC, I don't think you're missing out on anything by doing it on your cell phone.
Okay.
Just a smaller screen, you know what I mean? I think
Yeah,
I would
but even
definitely
like a
recommend-
tablet, if it's
Oh,
Android,
yeah, sure.
it's that stuff kind of goes over if you have a tablet. I never tried any of the Telltale games kind of on mobile, but you're saying it runs pretty competently. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, I do have what's considered by Ryan Blaney to be the worst cell phone ever. So it does outperform a lot of other things. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't try it on an older phone. But if your phone's relatively new, I think you won't have too much of a problem.
I mean, my phone can play GTA or whatever, and I'm sure that's probably more number crunching than Walking Dead. You know, Walking Dead's prettier, but there's not a lot going on at any given point. So yeah, that it's something I'll probably pick up when it goes on sale because I fucking love those games so much. And
it's free. I mean, season 1 is the only one that's out, and it's free. So
okay,
yeah, it would definitely be worth checking.
Well, the first episode of season 1.
Right, the first.
They always give you the first episode.
Yeah,
it's how they get you hooked because it's the drama. It's like watching the first episode of a TV show. You're like, I want to know what happens.
And then they're like, oh, $4.99, you can get another one. That's less than $5. That seems reasonable.
I just spent $6 on this coffee, so fuck it.
And that's about it. That's what I've played this week.
So you got an all mobile week.
An all mobile week. Yeah, excellent. I bought a bunch of stuff for old school gaming, but I haven't played any of it. So
all right. Well, that's what next week is for.
Yeah.
All right. How about you, Blendy? What have you been playing this week?
I played some Plants vs. Zombies again. They got the new modes, 8 new characters, totally free!
I actually got a
Free
chance
DLC.
to play that with you a couple days ago. And yeah, I think that is a surprisingly fun game for what it is.
It's fun.
So what are the new modes?
It's just a new map, like a downed plane. And then there's the plants have a Western theme outfits, because when they say new characters, they really mean like
outfits,
just the same classes. However, they've got different outfits on and different powers. Take for instance, there was 2 classes that you saw, the regular Chomper that just bites, and then the Fire Chomper, which blows fire.
That's what I was playing as when we were playing.
Yeah, you played the Fire Chomper. So usually you'd just be biting the people, but instead you were slinging flames.
Yeah.
So there's a varying gameplay on that. I haven't gotten any of the new characters yet. I only bought 1 pack last night because it just went live yesterday. So I got a few pieces of the characters, but I didn't get to play any of the new stuff. As always, Team Fortress 2. By the way, listeners, if you've got any unusuals that you want to give up,
no,
I will send you an autographed picture of maybe my foot.
Ignore
How
him.
about that?
He's not going to do any such thing. What else have you been playing other than Team Fortress 2?
That's it.
All right. How about you, Joel? What have you been up to?
I started this new thing where I'm going to try and go back and beat all the games that I own that I haven't beaten yet.
Yeah, how's that working out?
It's going to be impossible. But I'm gonna try it anyway.
Many people have gone down that road only to be defeated.
Yeah. Well, I started with Dragon Age 2, and it's one of those games where I put in like 35 hours in a playthrough and didn't beat it yet, and
Beat it.
I started over because I forget everything that happens at this point. So
Standards.
I'm like 13 in,
He's the
13
best.
hours in, and still in the first chapter. And
man.
What?
Yeah, I keep getting
God
pissed
damn.
though because every time I think I'm ready to move on to the next, advance the story to the next chapter, some other stupid ass side quest comes up.
You gotta
gotta do
Are you
that.
trying to 100% completion the game? Or?
Anytime I play a game like that, I have to do.
You gotta.
I
You
just-
gotta.
Oh.
Fresh.
So it's gonna take me another.
Well, then you must lose your mind with Skyrim.
That's why I've never beaten Skyrim or
Yeah,
any
you
of the
don't
Elder
beat
Scrolls
Skyrim.
games because I get so distracted
Skyrim-
with side quests.
To be
Fallout-
fair, those games are built for that. Like, those games, the
Yeah.
ending are never the best parts of those games.
Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, I've never even come close.
Don't
Yeah.
bother.
Fallout 3, I kind of came close, but
Fallout 3, I have 100% of the achievements on.
Jesus.
The
The ending of Fallout 3 was garbage, though.
The ending?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, whatever. Who really cares?
Yeah, but
Like
that's
you said,
just the point.
I mean,
you don't play
all you
them
do,
to-
you
Yeah.
play the game to fill your table with bobbleheads. That's why I play it.
I
I
need
mean, I
more
love, I
baseball
love those
caps.
games. I'd never come anywhere close to completing story or anything like that. I play them. I mean, I put in not as many as some hours as some people. I know, like Bernie had a ridiculous number of hours in Skyrim, but looks like I have 75. But that's probably across 3 different characters in Skyrim.
Yeah.
Man.
Anyway, Dragon Age 2. You know,
You just not feeling it, or you just not happy with it?
I hate that stupid their level design, man. I hate the fact that you're stuck in this one fucking town the entire game, and that
I agree.
you basically see everywhere that you can go within the first like 3 hours of the game, and that's
Yep.
it. All you see the rest of the game are these like 10 different maps, and it's like you put in. I'm gonna end up burning 40 hours in this game, and it's gonna be the same fucking places over and over again, and it just infuriates me.
Dog shit.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a major complaint. Everyone felt like it was just kind of pushed out the door before it was really developed. But I don't know, like,
It's not even a terrible game. It's just not what
half baked.
it's not what you expect from a BioWare game, especially not as a sequel to Dragon Age Origins, which is one of the better games in the last generation, I thought.
Yes.
I don't enjoy it.
But it's just like I don't know. You expect more. You expect a great game, not a.
The
an
story's
okay game.
good, man. You just gotta get to the end.
Yeah, that's the tough part, man. You shouldn't have to force yourself through shitty gameplay to get these tidbits of story.
At
You
a
know,
certain point, like, wouldn't a novelization just be better? Because I mean, the reason you're doing this is to prep yourself for the next one, right? To get
right? Like I
overload
want
for
to
the
I
next
want to
one.
beat it before the third one comes out, which is supposed to come out this fall, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
And,
that's why they make YouTube.
This is true too, but
Yeah.
at this point I'd rather just play through it.
But you're gonna spend 40 hours watching, a 40-part YouTube
Exactly,
video.
I might as well play
You
it.
might as well play it at a certain point.
And I could have
Agreed.
just started. I could have just started with the character I'd already had, but it's just one of those things. It's like you forget 90% of what happens,
Yeah.
and then but as you're playing it, you start to remember things and like, oh yeah, that was kind of cool, and like this stuff happens, and I don't know. It's just the big gripe for me is the fact that there's not a whole lot of variation in the environments.
Well, that's
There's
reasonable.
none of that epic journey quest sort of thing going on because you're literally just walking around a city for 40 hours, the same city, the same streets over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, what's hilarious too is in the beginning you suck, and then at the end you're like a master. So it's like
Yeah.
you don't even have to leave town to freaking master your skills.
Yeah.
So, anything else you've been playing other than the Dragon's Age?
I played through Braid.
You played through all of Braid.
I
Because
beat
last week, we did. There's an article up on the site to get his full kind of impression. But he pushed through to the end of the game, and it's not too much longer than
I
3
was-
hours. It's like 4 or 5 hours long,
I think it was
right?
like 4.5, something like that.
But yeah, what did you think?
It's not okay. It's not a bad game. It actually, for being a
He's
puzzle
not
game,
a bad guy, but he beats me.
it seems like it would be a great puzzle game.
Well,
and it's,
Joel doesn't like puzzle
This
games.
is
Let's
true.
preface this with I've been making Joel play a lot of puzzle games,
This
trying
one-
to find the sweet spot.
this one though is too much of a puzzle game for me. Like it is through and through a puzzle game. There's no there's
Yes.
no beating around the bush about it. There's no hiding it or anything like that. It is a puzzle game.
Unlike Guacamelee, which is kind of a brawler with puzzle elements.
Exactly. So, and I actually didn't realize that it was just a 100% puzzle game going in. I didn't really know much about it in the first place. So,
Mhm.
but I think the first time I sat down and played it, I played 30 minutes and was like, screw this. I don't even want to come back to this. But it was just I just it's got some cool stuff. I like how each of the different worlds has like that unique kind of mechanic to it.
Mhm.
You know, like all throughout the game you have the time reversal mechanic. But then like each of the worlds has like that unique mechanic that you have to utilize to solve the puzzles throughout. I thought that was cool. I don't like puzzle games. And it doesn't do anything to draw in people that don't like puzzle games.
And I think that's completely valid point. And I think that's something that kind of comes across in your articles. Like, you know, look, it's you're trying to make something, you know, other than moving around like boxes on a screen, kind of traditional puzzle game. You kind of disguising this as this, oh, you know, a beautiful platformer. But to your point, there isn't much substance to it other than the puzzles.
Right.
And I agree to you to some extent. Like, that is kind of disingenuous to be like, oh, you know, this is more of a platformer. It's like, no, it's a fucking puzzle game, man.
Yeah.
But I think the other kind of coming at it from another direction is there are so many different ways to approach a puzzle game that if you like both, you know, I thoroughly enjoyed this game, but I really like platformers and I really like puzzles.
Right.
So it's kind of best of both worlds.
I mean, and like I said, for being a puzzle game. I mean, granted, I don't really play many puzzle games, so maybe my opinion on this is kind of moot. As a puzzle game, it seems like it's a great game, but it's not something that outside of this, like, I would have chosen to play at all. Like, I would have played the 30 minutes of it, gotten bored, and never gone back to it.
But the thing I'm going to keep kind of going back and comparing it to is Guacamelee, because I think they kind of are a lot in common. They're both platformers, but Guacamelee uses puzzles to enhance the platforming where...
Here's the thing, too, with Guacamelee, okay? And I realized this after I finished Braid. Braid, most puzzle games like that are strictly puzzle games, right? The puzzles, like completing the puzzle, is the reward in itself.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
The fact that you overcame this challenge is the reward in itself. Whereas like a game like Guacamelee that kind of interlaces the two, like platforming, brawling, and puzzle solving. There's all like once you complete that challenge or whatever, like there's something at the end that either makes you stronger or benefits you in some way.
There's a literal reward. There is
Exactly.
something in a chest that makes you better.
Exactly. It's tangible. So like I think that's the major difference is puzzle games are rewarding in a way that I don't find rewarding. Like I don't just overcoming the challenge itself to me it's like who cares, you know? Like literally I could just and this is what I did for some of the tougher ones. I like literally just went online and was like, okay, I looked up a walkthrough. I was like, okay, well, how do I do this one? I can't figure this one out. Like I would try it for a while before I went and did that, but it's just there's it's just not.
I think that's a valid complaint, though. I think that is something that a lot of puzzle games lack. And, you know, as I've said before, I enjoy puzzle games, and I do enjoy kind of that, you know, small personal victory of, oh, I finally figured this out. But I think that the mechanic, like, so, you know, Guacamelee has like a jumping puzzle where, you know, you're using kind of all these kind of going in and out of dimensions and, you know, rolling through certain things and all this stuff. And at the end of it, not only do you have that sense of accomplishment, but the icing on the cake is now you get to open this box with something
Exactly.
to break the statue. And I think that if more puzzle games could incorporate that, they would only benefit. You know, I agree. You know, sometimes. So one of my favorite games of all time, Portal, is the reward is the story. So when you solve a puzzle, a little bit more of the story is kind of unveiled, and even that was enough for me to be like, oh, you know, this writing and acting is so good. Like I just want to hear what these robots have to say. At least that's something where a game like Braid is like, okay, man, here's some text and here's a new puzzle. Keep fucking going.
Yeah, there was really nothing that made me want to keep going, and I literally just had to force myself. And the only reason I even continued past the 3 hour mark is because I knew it was fairly short. Like
You
I could
might as
see
well fucking finish.
exactly. It was like I might as well put in the time and just do this. I think I don't know. The other thing too was like I guess like because most of the puzzle solving revolved around grabbing those puzzle pieces,
Hmm.
which you have to get to finish the game.
Yeah, they're like stars.
Yeah, I don't know. That just seemed weird to me because it's like, I guess once again, I don't really play puzzle games at all. But it's just like it's like one of those things. It's like that stuff. Usually, that kind of stuff is like the periphery stuff. You know, it's the secondary stuff that you don't have to do this, but you can figure it out. But you really didn't have to solve any kind of puzzle to complete a level. You know, like it was you could literally just walk across levels most of the time to get to the other door.
Yeah.
So like that, I don't know. That part kind of. But I guess that was the whole basis of the game anyway.
Yeah.
You know, so like that, you know, it's just I'm not a puzzle gamer.
That's fine. I'm gonna still make you fucking play puzzle games, but
I'm gonna probably hate all of
I'm
it.
just gonna make you hate puzzles more and more. All right. Did you end up playing anything else, or is that pretty much it?
That was pretty much it, honestly.
Alright.
Yeah.
Well, like our good friend Neil here, I also spent a lot of time playing mobile games this week, more so than
Mobile.
actual computer or console games. You know, I have a bunch of games from like the Humble Bundles and all that stuff, and actually sat down. I ended up like reformatting my tablet and all this stuff, so I'm like, I'm gonna fire up some games that I hadn't played. So I ended up playing The Room 2, which, sticking on puzzle games, this is literally like puzzle boxes. It's a really cool kind of 3D game for Android and iOS where you're kind of put in a room and you kind of move around these boxes or go to different areas in the room and kind of solve tons of tiny puzzles. I think what kind of makes this game so appealing is kind of the clockwork, mechanical nature of the puzzles. So if you kind of flip the right switch or turn the right dial, you get this really satisfying tactile or auditory click. And, you know, talking about kind of what the reward for a puzzle game is, that is, you know, very, very enticing. Be like, oh yeah, you know, it just kind of gets you that, oh yeah, you got this. It's not like pleasant noise or a bell or something. It's like, oh, okay, you flip this switch, now try pulling this lever. It's a really cool kind of old-timey setting. You know, it's a lot of like ships and, you know, keys and tumbler locks and stuff like that. And they're just kind of really neat 3D puzzle games. And if you're kind of into that thing, I highly recommend them. They're out for Android and iOS.
Yeah, and it looks really good and unique. That's one thing about both of the Room games, I thought. Like, they just don't look like any other mobile game that's out there.
No, and it lends itself very well to the platform. Like, for being a full 3D game, like, you're not walking around a room. So you're always kind of swiping and turning and kind of zooming. And it just feels very natural and very intuitive. So when you're turning a key, you're literally, you know, drawing a circle around the key like you would be turning it. So the platform really lends itself to kind of making the puzzles more engaging. And I agree, like, there isn't a lot out there like that. You know, there's the puzzle games that are rooms where you're just kind of clicking on hotspots until you find, you know, the piece of paper for the combination of a lock, but those are almost like point-and-click adventures.
Right.
Kind of very static, where the room kind of moves from location to location in its own device, but it's very kind of, hey, this is an area. Kind of look around this area.
Mm-hmm.
Other than the room, I've been playing a lot of Threes. Another puzzle game. It's gotten some coverage lately. There have been a lot of clones that have come out, kind of like the Flappy Bird, kind of, hey, this guy made this game, it's really popular, let's all try to make something similar. But the original game, Threes, is You're given a grid. I want to say it's 5x5 or 6x6, and there's a random arrangement of cards, of ones and twos, and then multiples of threes. And all you're doing is moving these cards left, right, up, or down all together, trying to stack cards on top of one another to make the largest number possible. So it's kind of like a sliding cube puzzle and multiplication. No real math is involved, but everything is a multiple of 3. So you have to kind of arrange them so there's two 12s next to one another, and that makes it 24. But now that's so much further away from your 6s and 3s that are left on the table. So you're constantly trying to make the largest numbers possible before you're out of moves, or there's no combination of moves you can make to combine cards to make a larger number. And it is just a fantastic pooping game. It is something you'll play 4 or so rounds of, while you're sitting on the can, and, the music is pleasant, the sound effects, like, when you get to the higher numbers, 24, 48, so on and so forth, they have different personalities, and while that sounds stupid, like they turn into these cute little smiley faces, and it's just a very, very pleasant, happy game. So again, another puzzle game. I guess I've been on a puzzle game kick. I've been playing DC Universe Online as per my assignment.
Yeah,
there's also a write-up of that on the site. But yeah, so it's an MMO. You are kind of thrust into the DC world, larger DC universe. You get to pick whether you're a hero or a villain. And I have to say, probably the most interesting part of that game is the character creation. It's pretty robust. They have like templates to be like, hey, do you want to be like Superman or do you want to be like Batman? But as a child who grew up on comic books and who spent hours coming up with my own superheroes, to kind of be able to tap into that part of your brain again, to be like, no, I want to be Flying Electric Man who uses a bow staff or whatever, like, it gives you that flexibility. And if that is something you spent your time doing as a child, as many kids of the 90s had, it is a very, very engaging experience. But once you get out into the world, I didn't find it that compelling. It is an MMO. It's free to play. I will say that there's nothing about that game that felt gated by paywalls. I think the free-to-play is handled very well, probably because it wasn't initially developed as a free-to-play game, as most MMOs aren't. But yeah, I mean, so I mentioned it in the write-up, but kind of one of the larger problems I had with the world is it feels very desolate. Now, there's always stuff going on, like you'll see like shooting in the background, or like this building that's falling apart, or you get close enough and you see things. But while it works if you're in Azeroth or kind of this sprawling fantasy landscape, if you're kind of up above it, there's nothing to really see because it's not loading, it's popping in or whatever. Kind of makes sense. When you have that in a city context, it feels really weird. It feels very desolate, and it's you're in Gotham or Metropolis or wherever you're in. It's very jarring to when you get in. There's the instance pops up and there's all these guys fighting, but it just, when you're flying around, it's very quiet, and it's. I understand it's a technical limitation, but it makes the world feel very boring until you're actually in the thick of it. I think once you kind of get into some of the more substantial missions, if you're into comic books, it's pretty interesting. Kind of seeing the engagement between the heroes and villains. I chose a villain because that's generally more fun for me. So like most MMOs, most of the missions are, go to this area and do this thing 10 times, or blow up 5 of these things, or whatever it is. But then you kind of get into some, instant story missions where you're like, okay, now you're fighting Cyborg or Raven or whoever it is that you're up against. And those are always interesting. They have cutscenes. They kind of have comic book, slideshowy animation thingies, kind of when you progress the story, which I think are very well done. The writing's decent for the main stuff, but there's just not enough of it there. And I understand that it's a larger MMO experience where it's like, look, man, this has to take you more than 10 hours to finish. So there's a lot of filler and a lot of grinding. But that's not what I want out of a superhero game. Like, I don't want to go get, Lex Luthor's coffee. Like, that's not exciting to me. But yeah, it's competent. I think if you like MMOs and you like comic books, I'm sure you're gonna fucking love this. It's kind of the same thing why I considered playing Knights of the Old Republic. I fucking love Star Wars, but it would never keep me engaged long enough to play. Like, I would never buy a subscription to something because I'd get a couple weeks out of it and be like, all right, I'm done with this, and I'm never gonna see it to the end, so why bother?
Right.
But I think the highlight of that, as a kid who drew comic book characters in his notebook, is getting that opportunity to make your own superhero or villain. I think that's really cool. I think it was handled pretty well. There was an MMO, I want to say City of Heroes, before it that kind of started that. But it is a great thing to have in a game. And for some reason it seems a lot more interesting than creating your Paladin or, your Ranger. Like, that never felt good unless it was a Bethesda game. But making a superhero and be like, I want him to use gadgets and shoot fire out of his face. Like, fucking do it. Go for it.
Yeah, I gotta say, I played City Hero. I played like the free trial of City of Heroes or whatever, and that was like, they both have very, very good customizing things. I think DC United
Universe.
Now I'm talking soccer, but DC Universe Online, I like theirs because you can adjust it on the fly. Like, as you get new equipment and whatnot, you can actually, like, you can gain the bonuses from the equipment, but then, actually change how you want it to look based on what you found already.
Like through like armor and stuff like that?
Yes. So like if you get like a new chest plate or something like that, you could have it look like the new chest plate that you got, or you can just switch it back to one of the other styles that you found throughout the game. Yeah. And not all of that's available right away. It's stuff that you have to find as you go throughout.
So that's what bothered, because I really liked the character I made. Like, I put a lot of time making my supervillain, so it's like, well, I don't want this fucking pointy armor. Like, fuck you. Like, it's better, but I don't want to have to wear it.
Yeah. But you can actually change how you can change it. You can actually lock your character's appearance so that when you equip new stuff, you don't have to worry about that unless you want it to change. And from everything that I've seen, or the ones that I've played, of the free-to-play RPGs, MMOs, this is one of the better ones, because a lot of what they try to do is they'll make the expansions where they'll add like new powers and stuff like that, new equipment, new zones, and they'll charge for those.
Which makes perfect sense, because if I was 20 hours, 30 hours into this game and I'm like, I really kind of want this thing, then I'm going to throw them 10 or 20 bucks. Like, that makes sense. But like I said, I didn't ever feel I ever hit a paywall at all playing that game. Like, I never got to an area and be like, oh, you should give us $3 and you can get into this instance or whatever. It's like, no, man, like, just play the fucking game. If you want this extra stuff, here's the store. We'll remind you about it every once in a while, but don't fucking worry about it.
See, but then you have games, I didn't really play Knights of the Old Republic after they went free to play, but Blandy...
It's like riding a bike without a seat. You can do it, but it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, see, No way, because like I said, these games are like work to me to begin with. So if you're not going to make it fun just on the outset, I had some fun in DC Universe. Like, it wasn't all kind of boring grinding. There were some parts that were interesting. But if you took that little bit away from me, there's no fucking way I'm playing your game.
Right. And I think just overall they do a good job with that. But I can understand. I don't really get the desolate thing, but maybe that's because I never really choose flying for my transportation thing.
Yeah, and I think that probably had a lot to do with it, because I was constantly kind of zoomed out. It just felt so lonely. Like, it was really weird. Like I said, in a sprawling landscape, it makes sense. But in a city, it's just very awkward until you get close enough. And look, the game was made, 5 years ago or whatever. Like, I understand it was a technical limitation at the time to load all this shit. But yeah, maybe if I ran around, it wouldn't be as bad. But I just moved so fucking
when you were
slow.
describing it, I thought that you were saying it was desolate because no one plays this game anymore because it's an MMO that's 5 years old. But
no,
I
there was a
understand what you're
decent
saying.
number of people playing, and you would see their icons and stuff like that. But they're just, it's a city, right? There should be hundreds of civilians at all times. But even when I got down to an area, it was like, all right, there's like 30 guys here.
Yeah.
Especially being a villain where it was like, punch 12 citizens in the face. And, I had only 6 would spawn at a time. It's like, what the fuck? Like, I'm in a city. I should just be able to reach out and slug 12 people at any given time. But, yeah. So that's pretty much all I played this week. A couple other little things, but nothing super interesting. So I guess we can move on to news. Does anybody want to start out? I've got a couple things.
I got
one.
something that Neil Lebo could definitely chime in at. So they were gonna make it had been in development for years. Vampire freaking MMO. It was gonna be fucking tits.
Vampire the RPG?
Yeah,
Yes.
World of
No,
Darkness.
it wasn't specifically Vampire. It was World of Darkness.
It was World of Darkness, but like the first thing was gonna focus on Vampire. And yeah, it's shit canned.
So
After like
yeah.
6 years of
developing it?
development,
It's the guys that made
fucking
Eve.
shit canned.
Oh wow!
It's bullcrap.
I didn't know they were working on
how
another
surprising
project.
is it? I mean, the game was big in the 90s. Like, I don't know.
Also, who makes a new MMO? I feel like all the MMOs that are out now, like even Elder Scrolls, like they've been fucking developing that forever, and it just hit a point where like, look, we sunk all this money and we have to put it out.
Yeah.
Where Eve, I think, has the luxury of having a fuck ton of money and would rather just not do it and spoil the reputation. There's not a lot of companies who have that luxury to just swallow a project like that. Blizzard maybe.
Yeah, but I can't remember Blizzard doing it either.
Well, you also they're pretty tight-lipped. You don't
Yeah,
know how many projects they develop and how.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not.
Look
Like
at
that
StarCraft
fucking
Ghost.
like I think they learned their lesson from StarCraft. Ghost.
Yeah.
Because that fucking card game came out of fucking nowhere from Blizzard.
Hearthstone.
Hearthstone's like, oh, we also made this thing if you want to play it. And everyone's like, okay.
There's the thing.
Well, the beta had been out for a while before they released it. But
yeah,
I mean,
but the beta was pretty much just balanced at a certain point. Like, that game was done.
more or less. Yeah, I mean, I played the beta for a little bit, and I can't see it. It's not really any too much different now than it was when I started playing it then. Back in
But,
the-
so no Vampire Mamorpiga?
Yeah, I'm pissed.
That's a bummer.
Gone.
Alright, Joel, did you say you had something?
Yeah, so one of my favorite games is getting a sequel that I think is going to be freaking awesome.
I
And that
might be
is-
thinking the same thing I am.
Civilization, was it Beyond Earth? or-
Beyond Earth, yes.
I'm gonna play the
looks-
shit out of that.
I will totally play the hell out of that, as I've played the hell out of Civ 5, but it just looks awesome. I mean, basically it's Civ 5 in space, but, obviously that's kind of simplifying things, but
Well, it's also Firaxis, too. It
Who
is the
did-
guys
they
who
did
made
Civ-
XCOM. They made Civ
and Civ
5. Like, they're on a fucking roll.
Yeah.
I have faith. It does. There's, I think, like 4 screenshots out. It kind of looks a little combat heavy. Again, it's really hard to tell from very little.
From what I was reading, like there's like 3 different ways, basically, like 3 different kinds of ways that you can adapt your civilization, and one of them is through the war path, supremacy. One is through like diplomacy, or no, purity. You know, keep maintaining the human race as it is, or whatever. And then one is like harmony, where you like combine the aliens with human stuff or something like that. And all of these apparently have a great effect on how you win the game and all this. But the big thing about it is the worlds that you land on are like procedurally generated, which is apparently a very popular term these days.
Which every Civilization game always
true.
was.
But they're also based on specific biomes. Like you can have arid world with like deserts, or an aquatic world. You know,
they are saying there's a lot of stress on the environment and how the environment affects your progress.
Yeah, and it just, I don't know, it sounds pretty awesome, and I know that is probably going to be a launch day buy for me.
Yeah, I mean, it might not be a launch day buy for me, but very similar to XCOM. That is a game I watched very intently, and as soon as that game lowered a little bit, I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm going to jump on that.
Yeah. So I'm definitely...
That might be a new game night game, too.
Could be. Well, I mean, once it goes down...
Ooh, yeah.
Who buys a game at full price anymore?
That's thanks, Steam.
What? People that want to give money to the people that make the game? Steam sales are bullshit.
Wow.
What are you even talking about?
What?
He
They
doesn't
give
like
less
Steam, though.
money to the developers.
Okay.
Well, that's a much larger argument than I think
That's a
we have
very
time
large
for.
argument.
I guess they
fuck
give
you buy.
they give less money per copy, but overall, I'm sure they're getting more money because they're selling a game that they haven't shipped in months.
Or would otherwise be pirated.
Wrong!
Okay. Anyway, the only other news, I had Civilization as well, but Marty O'Donnell was recently let go from Bungie. Marty O'Donnell was kind of the composer over at Bungie, responsible for most of the Halo music everyone's kind of familiar with. And it just kind of came out of left field. There hasn't been a lot of information about it. Marty O'Donnell just kind of posted something on his Twitter basically saying Bungie's board of directors terminated me without a cause on April 11th, 2014. And then Bungie put something up on their website about, like, hey, we're sorry to see Marty O'Donnell go. He was really good at what he did. Good luck. So it's just kind of this, little drama that's unfolding right now. No one really knows what's going on. But, it could be a number of things. It's either butting heads, creative differences, or, maybe he was working
It's
on
a
another
slip
project.
up with a co-ed.
Could be a number of things, but no one really knows at this point. This kind of just came out the other day or today, I forget. And then other than that, they just started announcing the new Mario Golf World Tour lineup. I don't know if anyone else here is a Super Mario Golf fan, but the new one coming out for the 3DS actually looks pretty great.
Are you a fan of Mario Golf?
I am a fan of Mario Golf. I was never, hardcore into Mario Golf, but it's probably, it is my favorite Mario sports game.
There was a period of time where I played a shit ton of Golden Tee.
Golden Tee is also pretty good.
I don't know
That's an
why.
arcade, though.
Yeah, that's arcade.
Yeah.
I don't know why I liked it, but I loved it, and
Golf
I don't
games
know,
are
maybe
fun.
Mario Golf will scratch that itch.
We played a lot of the GameCube version in college as well.
Okay.
So that was a good memory. But yeah, they just unlocked or announced all the characters. It's the normal lineup, obviously: Mario, Luigi, Peach, so on. You can incorporate Mii's now. You can play as your Mii since the 3DS now incorporates all that. And then the unlockables are Toad, Birdo, Paratroopa, and Kamek. And I have no idea who Kamek is. Kamek. Oh, he's a little wizard guy that shoots the multicolored rainbows and powered up the baddies in Mario Brothers 3. So yeah. So Mario Golf is coming. Be excited if you like Mario Golf games. And that's pretty much all I have. So yeah, I guess that concludes it for another episode of the Pixel Ship Podcast. I've been Ryan Hayes, joined by Neil Lebo.
Stay big in the pants.
Ryan Blandy.
Grand Theft Auto 5 is not real.
Joel Hartlob.
Okay, bye.
Alright, check us out at pixelship.net or over on Facebook and Twitter. And we will talk to you all next week.